Speaker, I rise to offer my own voice of support to my distinguished colleague, the Honorable Minister of Natural Resources, and others on this side of the House who have thus far spoken in favor of and commended to the House the Local Content Bill 2021, Bill number 21, 2021. I do believe, sir, that we had, and perhaps still have, an almost unique opportunity today as a legislature to put Guyana and the Guyanese people first. Because that essentially is what this local content bill seeks to do. The bill, just so that we all are on the same page, this bill seeks, sir, to secure for Guyanese nationals and Guyanese companies and other corporate entities a minimum level of business across various categories of inputs to be procured or otherwise employed by companies, licensees, and contractors operating in the oil and gas sector. And so, for the benefit of the broader and general Guyanese public, the bill lists in its first schedule 40 categories, 40 sectors and subsectors of business activity, starting from rental of office space, accommodation services, equipment rentals, pipe welding, etc., all the way down to local marketing and advertising services, public relations. And for each of those categories of goods and services, for each of those sectors and subsectors, the bill stipulates that by the end of 2022, all licensees, operators, contractors operating in the oil and gas sector must be buying a minimum percentage, and the percentages are listed. So in the case of rental of office space, operators in the oil and gas sector must buy a minimum of 90% of their inputs under that category from Guyanese nationals and Guyanese companies. Now, you might ask, sir, why I belabor this point. And one might be forgiven for thinking that this is an obvious point, and why would I utilize my scarce minutes to explain that this is what this bill seeks to do? I do so, sir, for the following simple reason: that we can quibble whether government and stakeholders, or government and opposition, or whoever else. We can quibble, sir, about whether it should be 90 or 95, or 95 or 100. We can quibble, sir, about whether it should be 5 or 10. But, sir, for every day that we quibble, oil and gas companies operating in Guyana are procuring goods and services without the obligation to procure those goods and services from Guyanese businesses. And so one cannot possibly, in good conscience, and with a straight face and a credible voice, come to this House and say that one is concerned about Guyanese nationals and Guyanese companies getting business from the oil and gas sector, but then simultaneously engage in every tactic and strategy that one possibly can to delay the enactment of this bill. The two, sir, don't go together. Because you know why? Even if this bill went to a select committee and came out of that committee after a month, during the course of that month, sir, oil and gas companies would have rented office space. They would have purchased accommodation services. They would have done surveying. They would have done pipe welding. They would have done local marketing and advertising. They would have procured local legal services. They would have procured accounting services. And Guyanese companies and Guyanese nationals would have missed out on those opportunities. Sir, as a matter of fact, I heard commentary that we did this hurriedly. I heard, sir, somebody say, I think it was the honorable member, newly elected chairman of the People's National Congress, the honorable member, Mr. Sherwin Holder, who came here and almost in an accusatory tone said we did it in a hurry. Well, you know what? Yes, we did it in a hurry. We want to get it into the law in a hurry. Because we want Guyanese landlords to be able to rent their accommodation. We want Guyanese welders to be able to get welding business. We want Guyanese accounting firms to get accounting business. We want Guyanese lawyers to get legal business. So yes, we did it in a hurry. But of course, sir, the concept of moving swiftly to enact legislation that would secure the interests of Guyanese companies and Guyanese nationals must, of course, elude a party in government who spent 5 years. I believe it was one of my colleagues on this side of the House who said it wasn't. I think they counted the days, how many days it was. Minister Walrand, I think it was, who said it. Sir, it wasn't 5 years after they came into office that oil was discovered. It was mere days. I think it was less than a week. 4 days, I think, was said. They spent 5 years, sir, and did absolutely nothing. I think somebody said it was a magazine that the honorable member, Annette Ferguson, was waving. I don't know whether it was a magazine or not. I'd be interested in seeing a copy of what was produced. Sir, the honorable member, Annette Ferguson, waved a piece of paper and said, we had a policy, a magazine, or a brochure, or a booklet. Beautifully printed booklet, but guess what? It did not have whatever it is and whatever its contents might be. Whatever it is and whatever its contents might be, it did not have the force of law. It had no authority. It was unenforceable, and it did not protect the interests of Guyanese businesses and Guyanese nationals. So don't come to this House. Don't come to this House and wave your sterile magazine. Don't come to this House and wave your sterile magazine that had not a shred of authority, and that is perhaps not even worth the paper that it is printed on. Don't come and wave your sterile piece of paper. You want to see our policy? Our policy is written in law. And in another hour or two will be enacted by this National Assembly. And in a matter of days will be assented to by His Excellency the President. And immediately thereafter will be gazetted in the National Assembly, brought into law, made operational, have the force of legal authority, be binding on operators, and be beneficial to Guyanese nationals and Guyanese companies. So don't come here and speak condignly that we are in a hurry. We are in a hurry to work in the interest of Guyanese people. And we have...
Let me drink some water.
Sir, today, this was not the moment. This was not the moment. Frankly speaking, it would not have been difficult, sir. It would not have been difficult for us to speak unanimously as a House and say, look, it might be 90 or 95, but if we're going to get 90, let us secure the 90 for Guyanese businesses. It wouldn't have been difficult to say so, sir. Today, sir, was not the moment for cheap partisan politics. Today was the moment for each of us to stand up and demonstrate to the world whether we do or do not stand on the side of Guyanese people, Guyanese nationals, and Guyanese companies. Sir, the honorable member, Mr. Patterson, spoke with great aplomb. Sir, he spoke with great aplomb. And he said he would like this bill to be referred to a special select committee. And then, with aplomb, he then said, we are willing to work 24/7. Sir, we had an agreed meeting at 9:30 this morning. Don't bother about 24/7. Sir, don't bother about 24/7. Bother about 9:30 this morning. We don't want 24/7. We only needed half an hour this morning to discuss his amendments. We had a half an hour meeting this morning confirmed by the Honorable Minister Gail Teixeira with the Honorable Leader of the Opposition for 9:30. We all came here. Now, I don't know, I hear there's some speculation about whether the newly elected leader of the PNC instructed that the meeting should not happen. I don't know whether that is the case or not.
Yeah, but honorable minister, he's not here to defend himself. So
I withdraw, sir.
Thank you.
I withdraw, sir. But it wasn't by any stretch of the imagination my intention to be accusatory. I was saying I don't know if he did or didn't.
yeah, he might be soon though. Who knows?
Sir, I would not be inclined, sir, to speculate on whether he would or wouldn't. My concern, sir, is that you have a member of this House coming here and grandstanding about 24/7 and all sorts of things, dramatic things. All we needed was half an hour, sir. And you know what we wanted that half an hour to do? To discuss their amendments. Not to discuss our amendments. We received yesterday notice of some amendments proposed by the opposition. We went through those amendments diligently and worked until late last night, as the Honorable Attorney General said. We examined each of them. And as can be demonstrated by the amendments that we have since tabled through my distinguished colleague, Minister Barrett, having considered the merits of their amendments, we are happy to take on board most of those amendments. And we have tabled those amendments. Instead, sir, instead of engaging with us to discuss those amendments, we were greeted, sir, with an opposition that once again, when it mattered most, was missing in action. Because, sir, when it comes to protecting and serving the interests of the people of Guyana, that is their customary behavior. They go AWOL. They go missing in action. They were missing in action, sir. And so, sir, I know that we are severely constrained for time. There is much that I would like to say. I want simply to make this point, that this bill seeks to write into law that oil companies, licensees as the bill calls them, and their contractors, this law binds those operators, licensees, and their contractors to buy a minimum percentage of their inputs across 40 sectors from Guyanese companies and Guyanese businesses and nationals. And that, sir, can only, in my mind, be a good thing. I want to say, sir, too, that, like I said, I see you gave me a signal about time. So was it 5 minutes, sir, that you were saying? I thought, or 15? Very well, sir. And so much was said about transparency. Let me make something needs to be, something apparently is lost in translation. This bill is about procurement by the oil companies. And it requires, for the first time, mandatory public procurement. It requires mandatory filing of local content action plans, annual plans that include an employment subplan, a procurement subplan. An employment subplan, incidentally, is about jobs for Guyanese people. A procurement subplan is about business opportunities for Guyanese people. And then thirdly, an issue that featured frequently in the comments made by some of our colleagues on the other side of the house about capacity by Guyanese businesses, by Guyanese companies to take advantage of these opportunities. The plans that are required to be filed by these companies include a subplan that is dedicated to local capacity development, recognizing the importance of building local capacity. Sir, like I said earlier, this was not the moment for empty rhetoric. I heard the honorable member, Mr. Schuman, refer to participation by our indigenous peoples, and we couldn't agree more. We agree as fully as we possibly can. My submission, sir, is that this bill has been circulated before this House for about 2 weeks. It's been in the public domain. The honorable members clearly had the time to reflect on what amendments they wanted. They submitted a list of amendments. I don't see Mr. Schuman submitting any amendments in relation to including indigenous peoples in this bill. I don't see a single amendment submitted by Mr. Schuman on indigenous people, but yet he comes here today. Let Mr. Schuman say he had an opportunity today, sir, to table specific amendments, just like the Honorable Member David Patterson did, and just as we considered his amendments. If the Honorable Member, Mr. Schuman, was sincere about serving and representing the interests of indigenous peoples, he was welcome to submit specific amendments, which he did not do, but instead chose to come today and engage in a general waffle with no concrete or practical suggestions of how this bill can be enhanced. And that, sir, is the note on which I will end. There is, sir, a well-known saying that has its origins in the writings of a French philosopher. I will not say it in French, I'll say it in English. And that is to say that we should not let the perfect be the enemy of the good. We, sir, have a bill that represents not only a good start, but an excellent start. This bill, sir, represents an excellent start. This bill, sir, will secure business opportunities for Guyanese nationals and Guyanese businesses. But instead of supporting this bill, our friends on that side of the House are saying, don't pass the bill, stall it. We are not satisfied. They're not satisfied with the 5-year delay that they themselves inflicted on the people of Guyana. They're not satisfied with the 5-year delay occasioned by their failure to enact local content legislation. They want to stall this very good, dare I say, this excellent bill even longer in pursuit of some notional perfection that they believe exists out there. And so I submit to you, sir, that this represents a classic case
Mr. Speaker,
of the perfect being made
Speaker,
the enemy of the good.
Rise on a point of order.
That point of order.
Yes, sir. The Honorable Minister is putting my character in disrepute by stating that I am lying. I would refer the Honorable Minister to the comments furnished on draft number 1 to the Honorable Vikram Bharat.
Honorable member, again, just repeat the point of order. Standing order, but if it's a point of clarification, explanation, unless the Honorable Minister gives way for you to take the floor, I will not allow it. Honorable
Mr.
Minister,
Speaker, I have
continue.
absolutely no problem with Mr. Schuman making his point. Please be my guest.
Honorable Deputy Speaker, the Minister will give you a chance.
I thank the Honorable Minister for the opportunity, and I wish to refer the Honorable Minister to draft 1 of the local content bill, correction policy. When it was furnished that we provided comprehensive review, sir, to the Honorable Minister Vikram Bharat, who at the time was responsible for the bill. And I would refer the Honorable Minister that if there is an opportunity to look at the input that we had, to go back to that initial draft, to contextualize my input into this debate. I thank you.
Honorable Minister, I'll give you back your 2 minutes to conclude.
And I will use those 2 minutes, sir, to repeat what I said earlier. If the honorable member, Mr. Schuman, Deputy Speaker, wished to propose a specific amendment to this bill, if he wished to submit a specific amendment to this bill, sir, he was perfect as it would have related to the interests of indigenous peoples. Sir, he was perfectly free to do so. I have perused, and I have tumbled, not once but twice, my parliamentary papers, and I can't find any amendment proposed by Mr. Schuman. None. So this is mere grandstanding and empty rhetoric. This is mere posing, sir. I hear the word pamphleting. It's a word that I have used in this house before. I don't want to overuse it. But, sir, this is mere posing. I will conclude, as I was about to do, sir, by saying once again that we have before us not just a good, but an excellent piece of legislation that serves and secures the interests of Guyanese nationals and Guyanese companies. And I urge the opposition, sir, to demonstrate that they are actually concerned about ensuring that Guyanese nationals and Guyanese companies get an optimal share of the business opportunities and employment opportunities that are available in our new and emerging oil and gas sector. I urge them that there is yet time to demonstrate that they're standing on the side of the Guyanese people by voting, when the opportunity presents itself shortly, in favor of this local content bill 2021. Thank you very much, sir.